Hello, ladies. I'm losing the touch. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let's review Damon versus G2 together. I mentioned in my summary that Damon showcased some of the most beautiful League of Legends I've seen in a long time. Long time being subjective. Well, as long as I remember. Let's just jump in to the party. Of course, I've watched these games already, and it will, serve as a bit of a refresher about what's going on. But nevertheless, let's talk about what we see on the screen so far. Camille ban. This is going to be very important as we go deeper into the series, because banning Camille on blue first is alright if you are playing in a world where, you don't expect all of these top lane bans. So these are three champions that can be considered picks into the Camille, right? The key thing, though, is that Renekton is still open. This is something that Nuguri plays well. LCK top laners love Renekton into Camille. So that's something to keep in mind. But with Camille banned, you begin to think about, of course, the potential here for what is the potential blind pick top for G2. And they went for Renekton. Top lane blind pick is something that has been tricky throughout the World Championship. We've seen Camille, we've seen Renekton, we've seen Ornn, we've seen Jax, we've seen even, whatchamacallit, Cannon, which is fine, right? Cannon doesn't have any hard counters. He can win against Sylas, can do fine against Sylas, can do fine into Jace. These are all skill matchups, of course. Anyhow, we have the Lucian first pick. I think the idea here for Damon to give up the Lucian is to make sure that they get Twisted Fate and Jhin as a trade. So Jhin was something that Perkz excelled at, and they are really testing the waters here to see what Perkz will be capable of without the Jhin. Because in the end, Gen.G games, Perkz played 3 games of Jhin, so it's something that can be targeted. And on top of that, the Jhin win ratio has been pretty good in the quarterfinals. So I think that progression is completely natural. I don't think there is anything wrong with the idea of rotating this together. And Twisted Fate is high prior for both Caps and Showmaker, and both teams know how to use it. And here you kind of remove the idea of Sylas. Even though it gets locked in here, you assume in most cases that Lucian is going to go mid. So you have the Twisted Fate, and then your third pick jungle, and then you'll be fine. Here, considering the jungle bans, only Nidalee is banned, there is still the option of going Graves here and other things. Let me think. We have Graves, there's Lilia, but they went for Hecarim, which was a surprise to me, because usually the driving force in the early game is, of course, Canyon. And I think in a world where Lucian went mid here together with Lilia, it's going to be very easy to dominate the Hecarim. So I was very surprised here. First 3, I don't think G2 is in a bad spot. The only thing that they need to care about is, of course, the AD carry choice, but considering the bans, there's going to be Ashe, Senna, and Ezreal as a potential option. So that's something important to highlight. I think first 3, Hecarim will be weak early, Lucian wins Twisted Fate, and Lilia can invade the Hecarim and look to cause some serious damage. So the early game combination here is rather weak. And this is where the next, where the excitement happens. Second wave ban, Cannon. Nuguri plays Gangplank, but it's not something that he's really known for. It's not like a bin Gangplank or something, but Nuguri is honestly really good Gangplank. But it helps for me to know this because I was involved in LCK, we scrimmed against his Gangplank and so forth. I think Sambot was one of the first teams that actually started picking GP in LCK, which I pride myself upon, specifically into this matchup. Very, very specifically into this matchup. So in hindsight, sure, you could say Cannon GP ban would make more sense. And also, this was the series when where everyone realized that Leona is just really, really overpowered. And that's why Pantheon ban comes in, and then Leona is not prioritized here. Nevertheless, you have GP into Renekton, and this is where the magic lands. Sylas in isolation here is very, very beautiful. Against these champions, you think of the Leona ultimate, it's going to be good. You think of the GP ultimate, you think of the Hecarim ultimate. In isolation, Sylas against Twisted Fate, something that, you can indeed work with, right? So in isolation, this is a beautiful pick, but it comes with such a painful price. You send Lucian into bottom side, and your 2v2 mid is going to be significantly weaker, making Hecarim's early game much easier. This is very, very important. Hecarim reaching 6, Sylas getting pushed in, because Twisted Fate actually wins against Sylas early. Sylas needs to be perma aggro, he needs to dash in, and it's not something that is so easy to do in competitive play. So this Sylas pick weakens the early game of G2 a lot, and with this in mind, having Renekton and Lucian, putting them in a position where they have a weak early game is really, really rough. Really, really rough. Thank you so much for subscribing, Teddy Hayen. Teddy Hayen. Hoppla hope. Nevertheless, let's continue. Thank you for your sub. I hope you enjoy all of the new emotes. So I was trying to speak. I'm losing my voice. So I would much rather just see here an Ezreal. You go on Ezreal, you go Leona. And I think the draft would have been so nasty. Leona is such a good champion in triple AD compositions because not having Mercury against Leona is such a big deal. So in hindsight, Ezreal Leona would have been the better choice. Early game top side is going to be super, super good. So already from the get-go, G2 know that early game they need to impact hard because Twisted Fate is going to buy Mercury, he's going to become tanky, Mercury is going to be so valuable against this 2v2. That's the issue with it. And Hecarim will have an easy time farming. So you'll see that in the approach of the game. Let's jump into it. Forgive me, I'm losing my voice. Let me just move my little camera. Game pause. Oh, look at that. Who's that handsome devil? Who is that handsome devil? Look at that handsome devil. On first glance, I can admit that I actually thought that G2's draft was good, but in hindsight, no. So the technology you see from a lot of people is, especially in Akali and Sylas, is you buy an AP item instead of a door and shield or your potions. Because AP scales so well with Fleet Footwork. It's incredible how much it scales. So you see the refillable and Dark Seal start. It is good for Sylas when he has Fleet Footwork. You can go check out the Fleet Footwork scalings and they're absolutely crazy. So here, already from the get-go, no level 1 action for Lilia. It's a big point of strength and a big point of weakness for Hecarim. Not going for that is maybe something they should have considered. But the tricky thing is GP level 1 is crazy good too, TF level 1 is crazy good too, and maybe you would coin flip too hard. But in hindsight, looking at this game where maybe coin flipping was indeed the right choice. Bottom matchup is not good. Jhin, Leona are very winning. Lucian needs to hope that he gets some good poke off with his Q and play time, but it's difficult when Jhin is running boots and potions. Early prior against Leona on level 1 is also something that's very, very rough. Naguri messed up. Here Wunder really threw the lane. Tagging two of the turret shots here was just way too much. He loses potions, loses all of his HP, and the advantage he built up so far, considering GPO already went through half of his mana and so forth, is a very, very big deal. This is going to be an absolute game changer, because this has been an issue for very long when it comes to G2, is that often Jankos, when he's playing these farm junglers, needs to compensate for some of the mistakes that G2 do, because they're playing so aggressively when it comes to the lane phase. But there's no excuse for that. I think just the decision to do the trade there was just wrong. I think it's fine to just bounce the wave, look to freeze, use the fact that Lilian's on top side, and let her clear as she pleases. Because potentially, instead of going top here, Jankos could have potentially done the Gromp. And these are going to be small differences that matter when you're playing Hecarim against Lilia. Both of them have 4 legs. I don't know why I mentioned that, but nevertheless. And here we go again. This gank in the mid is also huge. Very, very big. The fact that Showmaker dies here is massive. Absolutely massive. Hecarim is on his Raptors, and they find the freeze, but Showmaker still has TP. So it isn't like the end of the day for mid, but it's very, very positive considering Jankos wasted a little bit of time, and now he went all the way through what side into his own Raptors. So this is a decent position for G2. Great base for Gangplank. He gets the full Sheen, the 700 Gs, and of course you have the double longswords on Renekton's side. This was a disaster. I don't know how, considering we don't have ProView, I don't know what was behind this decision. The things we can highlight is, of course, Lucian has no mana. He has 1 biscuit and there's 1 potion left on Jhin. Like, it doesn't look too bad here, the overall health situation. There's just 2 biscuit advantages here. There's 1 biscuit for the all-in of Lucian. But it just looks like straight up Rakan just got one-shotted here. It looks like as well that Guardian's on cooldown, and that makes him less durable, and then boom, there is Mickey's death. And he could have also flashed earlier, but he just didn't flash, and it's just the worst case scenario where he flashes and dies. Very uncharacteristic of Mickey considering he had such a good tournament. So maybe it's just nerves. A lot of, you know, time has been spent to build up towards this specific matchup. So this is just a massive blunder. Dying, burning all summoners, and it started off with him committing first, which is the biggest portion of that disappointment. Ghost uses flash when it didn't need to, because I think Leona's Ignite was enough. Top lane situation is also very winning for Nuguri, considering he's the one that was given the jungle attention, and it seemed like Wunder managed the wave level 1, level 2, very, very good. What? No. Why? What is that, Lena? Sorry. What was I saying? Yeah, Rakan died. Terrible. Very bad. Wunder managed wave 1, 2, very good. And then he just did the trade on the tower. And the timing would have been perfect for Lilia to be into topside where GP begins to slow push out. But his HP situation was just too terrible. And GP got a very clean Sheen base. I think Summit was one of the first people who actually started the Sapphire Crystal thing. I respect it. Showmaker no flash here. Burrow reading it. Very good. Cap situation in the mid is very good. So we have to keep this gank in mind, okay? First and foremost, the wave is not freezing, so there's very little room for Wunder to continue the punishment here if Jankos like bases in fog. But considering Nuguri burned flash here and he got ganked, this is very important. 2 times now, Jankos has spent time and effort into topside. I don't like the purchase of Sapphire Crystal. I think Darkseid is just better. But maybe the thought process that Jankos has is that he doesn't want to delay his AP jungle item because he's already behind when it comes to the farm against Canyon. So Burrow's play into mid was super, super good. I think there was also more room to explore. Like when we think of Jankos and his pathing choices here, he's playing into topside. And 2 times he has wasted tempo and effort, and you have to remember that in mid, Showmaker burnt his flash and died, and Sylas could freeze, had XP advantage. I think it's also much easier to impact mid lane because it's central. So if you think of the minimap, right? You think of the minimap, ganking mid doesn't take any time. Like if I'm full clearing top side and then I'm going through mid into bot side, the time spent here is not that big. But committing all the way into one specific side, you're so far away from each quadrant on the map, right? You're so heavily committed. And I think they had an opportunity to continue to snowball onto this Sylas, because if Sylas gets a little bit more ahead, all of a sudden he might be able to just perma all in, even though Twisted is going to have a very easy time itemizing. So here we had a situation too. Keep in mind now the null magic mantle conversation we've had, and Canyon being allowed to farm and being ahead, having the sheen here is the key difference makers. Another thing is, of course, Barrel is already in river, and Caps and Jankos are forcing this. We pay attention to the position. I think it would be very surprising to me if bot lane is not calling that Leona is actually first in this situation. So they are forcing this. It's not a good situation at all. Showmaker dodges the E, which is super clutch here, and then Barrel is of course first. The kill comes down, GP ult is on 6, and as crazy as it might sound, this loses the game completely. This loses the game completely. I said in my preview towards this matchup that you cannot throw bullshit at Damon. Anything that is in the bounds of the rules and laws of League of Legends, anything that is outside of it, Damon will call you out for it. And this was a very, silly mistake, all things considered. G2, Mickey also Wing into the wall here is very strange. Like, he just straight up W's the wall. Like, Mickey was not himself this game. Really not himself. So maybe he wasn't calling the Leon. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. But here, another kill because he just legit face planted it into the wall. And now Hecarim is ahead. Why am I saying the game is over? Bottom is too far ahead. GP got 2 assists. Hecarim is going to base probably on a Phage now, or Boots maybe. Like, the man is really rich. And we spoke about how G2's composition with the Lucian AD and the Renekton top and the Lilia, they have the need to get ahead. There's a lot of hard CC on the right side, and they can do very well in the Lilian team fights. The only hope is Sylas with his, Sylas, his only hope is that he gets crazy value from his ultimate. But I think all of us got a little bit too high on the Sylas juice because of the performances against Genji. I mentioned as well that Nuguri got ganked twice, but his lane state and lane condition now being 60-60 is super good for him. Good base time here from Nuguri too. There's no way for Renekton to freeze those minions, so the waves will be even. Good base for GP is going to be very durable. This is a very grim game for G2. The only hope is still to try to impact mid, but the 2v2 is now losing. GP ult is going to be too powerful, as we saw in the previous fights, and Hecarim is just too strong. Bottom is also doubling down on the whole idea that the lane is over, and they're going for tier into specific items. This was a decent trade from G2. The battle just went in when Jhin was out of range, and the W didn't land. Good trade back from Perks. Also strange how Wunder here, I didn't understand how this happened, but Renekton couldn't freeze on time, and then here G2 Gangplank comes back to lane. Renekton didn't push, Renekton didn't base, and he's just sticking around the lane. He didn't stack his rage. I didn't understand what Wunder did in this state here. He didn't stack his rage, didn't use spells, didn't push. And now Nuguri has item advantages. As long as he maybe maintains a freeze here, he's going to be good. But maybe Wunder's looking to base completely on Blade and Ruin King. Maybe that's the reason as to why he's doing this. But now with this item advantage, Nuguri can win the lane. Not sure as well here what Jankos is really doing. I assume he's just doing crab. I'm just reading from the minimap, guys. That's why I'm saying this. I'm not sure what he's doing. Because he's sticking around. Like one thought could be Renekton maybe sticks around because he wants to secure the Herald with Lilia, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And then Lilia did crab, goes into mid, shows on mid. Cannon is already in the jungle, and I wasn't entirely certain why this decision making was there in place. Because Wunder now, baseless, is now losing the lane, losing the matchup. Teamfights will be completely favored. Canyon was here some time ago, swept this ward, and now came back at a very, very beautiful timing. The wave pushes back, Wunder queued the wave, and there's a massive overextension. Also, very beautiful here how in sync Damon is. So you see this situation here. Rakan is into top side. We had the sequence where Lilia is in mid. And then Lilia goes back into the top side. Here in this position, Damo don't have control. Like right now, Jankos and Caps are in fog of war, so it's fairly uncertain what they're doing. And Nuguri pleasantly, easily just gives up. There's no rush at all. Then Wunder begins to push, and now on the time where Silas shows into mid lane, with this item gap, Damo know, even without knowing where Lilia is, that they can be forcing here into the top side. No problem at all. As I mentioned, Canyon swept this before, and now they're just going for it, and Wunder's lane state is just too shit. No one can really save him. No one can save him at all. He's too low HP, laned with worse items, and even if Lilia is backing him up here, there's no way that he's going to, get anything out of this. Boom. He got snapped, and then his HP is just too low, gets queued again. This is just so losing for Wunder. Sure, he could base here, but then the wave would be frozen, and it's as a losing, less losing, but just as bad. I feel like I have a bit of slime in my throat. I wanted to take a look back and see if it was correct to commit as hard onto the Herald as Damon did. In most cases, what you see AD carries do is that they are going to hide in fog of war. So here, bottom lane wave is even, and Jin is just straight up walking. He walked all the way from bottom. What I was trying to say is you will see most AD carries when they're swapping into the Herald, the good ones at least, are going to hide in fog of war. Because you never want to commit further than mid tower if there is no fighting going on. Like you don't want to be the ones hard swapping into top. Because even this is not so optimal. I think topside was so winning that Jin didn't need to hard commit. Which is something you'll see from Daman a lot is if they're in a winning position, like we said in this game, very often than not, they're going to make small sacrifices and limit the amount of decisions they need to be making in order to be winning. That's the story of this series. Because they don't want to be ever dragged into a world where G2's excellence gets a chance to show itself. The whole story of this series is Damon, winning position, taking that winning position all the way home through safety and precaution. Limit the amount of decisions you need to make in order to, be there at the finish line where you break the enemy's nexus. This is desperation. Caps dies. And you can even see it like Damon are so far away from their bottom tower and this play gets forced. So they're walking up. Then you can see Jin and Leona how far away they're hovering. They are playing in a way where it seems like they are expecting this. Like they are not under the turret when this is happening. Usually a good rule of thumb could be when you're looking to dive bottom, you know, a tip for all of you that are in teams. The call, let's force a fight, let's dive, in a lot of cases builds bad habits. Because in a perfect situation, if you're pressuring into bottom and you're threatening a dive, if the enemy plays perfect, they're going to walk away. So in reality, what you're contesting is this space. Let's contest enemy bot tower, right? Of course, if you say dive bot, everyone understands it. But the correct play always when the enemy team is pressuring S4 into your bottom tower, it means that you need to back off, right? So what is the gain that you're getting is that you're hitting enemy bottom tower, you're denying minions, right? Same thing when you say, oh, we should force a fight, you should force a fight, you should force a fight. But in reality, what you want to do is you want to contest specific space. Let's say you're contesting dragon, right? In a lot of cases, I've seen this many times in many different teams. People are calling, yeah, we should force a fight. But then sometimes teams give up dragons, and that's in reality what you came for. And then in a lot of cases, because teams are in the mindset where, oh, we need to dive, we need to fight, we need to force, they overforce. So for example, in this case, G2 want to pressure bottom tower. This is usually like a fair line where you don't want to pass. In some cases, of course, you can find kills here. I'm not saying it's a one rule applies to every situation, but it's something to keep in mind as you are progressing with your team or coaching your team or doing something like building the habit of saying we are pressuring bottom tower. Building the habit of, oh, we're stronger in a fight, we should force around Drake, we should take space, right? It's all about the space. Because let's say you are stronger 5v5, it doesn't mean you win 5v5 in every position, right? If you use that strength in order to gain the space that is important, you've already achieved what fighting would do. It's like having a nuclear bomb and, in your arsenal, but you don't launch it. It causes enough fear and power, right? Just because you are stronger in a fight doesn't necessarily mean that you have to force at all costs. That's not the point of you being stronger. It's about gaining space and the respect from the enemy to give up drakes and certain things. And then when the enemy enters your space that you've contested and you know you're stronger, that is when you strike, right? And like this, you'll find yourself in way more advantageous fights instead of like chasing into the enemy tower, diving where you don't need to dive, fighting all the way here between turrets where your team is not in line with your thinking, right? This is just an example. Because here, this is Caps fighting alone. Only Rakan could reach him. This is Caps fighting alone. Everyone from Damon got to collapse. When in reality, the threat alone was enough to gain an advantage here. They could have gotten a plating, denied 6 minions, but then instead it got a lot worse. Very beautiful usage in that situation of Fog of War once again from Ghost and Battle. It's always much better to not show, really. You make yourself so much bigger if you're hidden in Fog of War. I might make like an educational like video at some point in time about how Vision and Fog of War works and functions in your favor, and how you can use it both ways in order to gain more information. How move speed functions and how vision in general, the basics of it that might be obvious, but in a lot of cases hasn't been conceptualized. So it becomes a more difficult thing to teach. Damon with a very clear-cut plan, GP in isolation, respects the timers where Lilia could potentially gank him. Very nice blue trinket here that spots Lilia. Nuguri gets to walk up on the wave here. Now Nuguri is of course in danger, and all he has to do is just walk away. He got the wave in time because that little blue trinket that Twisted Fate placed before to defend GP is all he needed to clear that wave, and he got the extra time needed. And now GP is in super good condition. He's doing golems when he can't contest the wave. It's smooth sailing for Damon. Now I want us to pay attention to, you know, always, another thing, you want to play away from your GP. So they're placing Twisted Fate on the side where the objective is. GP is going to be in isolation on bottom, and then boom, once again, mid prio, there's no mid turret, so it's very easy to contest this. They can walk away all the way upside, and then Jhin is walking. He's pretending here. Very, very cool here. Very smart from Barrow, because Barrow didn't show on anything here, as far as I know. And Damon are playing as if Leona is on this side of the map, and this could be a situation where they can, you know, prevent the dive on bottom, GP and Leona, just through the sheer force of Fog of War here. Leona's just hiding away. Lilia is trying to walk around, and then she recognizes, wow, what the fuck is a Leona here? Very nice use of Fog of War here from Barrow. Very beautiful. Then Jankos gets snapped in half. Instantly. Look at this. Jhin Hecarim movement into top side. Get the tower. Jhin in Fog of War, because there's no vision in top side river. After they've gotten the bottom top tower, instantly they contest the space that they've lost because they have higher tempo. Very nice from Damon. A lot of people ask me, oh, Damon, they didn't play beautiful. They just, you know, they were giving this victory by G2. Sure, G2 made mistakes, but the way Damon leave very little room for mistakes of their own. That's what I find incredible. That the patience is so nice. Once again, the same. GP into top side, play away from, you know, they are playing away from Nuguri. They are preparing for the dragon. And next wave. Even here, even though they are so strong, they're not making any efforts to contest this wave hard. So in a lot of cases, you'll be like, yo, Damon is so far ahead. Why are they not contesting this wave? Because Twisted Fate is catching. Twisted Fate is catching the wave. They don't want to put themselves in a position where they are forcing for no reason. They're waiting for Twisted Fate to catch the wave, and then it will be okay. Now top wave is pushed, Twisted Fate caught mid, caught bottom, and now they are grouping up. And now you see Nuguri's movement. Everyone on Damon is on the same page. You see their movement. They're going to group up together. This team composition wants all of them to come from the same angle. They put down the Herald to cause pressure for the Drake, to force a reaction from G2. And on G2's end, this is the best case scenario for them that will ever be achieved in this game in the current state. There's never going to be a better fight than the one they are about to head into, because they're getting heavily outscaled. They finished 2 core. They're also bleeding a lot of gold because they don't have towers. They're also getting their jungle stolen away from them. They have the blade finished. They have 2 core finished on Lilia, 2 core finished on Sylas, 2 core finished, well, arguably 2 core finished. There is never going to be a point in time where they are stronger. So this is the best fight that G2 can take, especially in terms of positioning as well. This is probably the best thing that they can achieve. You can see as well how Damon are moving forward. They just make sure that someone with Mercury is going first. They're slowly approaching the vision. So important here. Just because Jankos here is showing, and this blue trinket gives them the freedom to enter this space. Here they spot 2 people, right? Already. That's why Showmaker and Ghost are walking so aggressively. And now G2 have lost the position. In reality, what needed to be done if they wanted to have the best case scenario for a fight, Rakan needed to be here. This had to be Rakan. Maybe Lucian needed to be here. Maybe Lilia needed to be here. The moment they showed on this space, through the ward and through the vision of Leona, very easy for Damon to just retake this beautiful area. And now if we look at the fight, G2 don't have good access here for Mickey and Jankos. Their movement is going to be predictable. Damon are hovering into this side because they know that they've got people on this side. And then they can retake all of the space that they didn't have in the first place. One piece of information is so meaningful here. And then so beautiful here, because in a lot of cases, everyone would blow their load here instantly. You know, just, you know, first timers would be like, oh, you know. But Canyon plays patiently. He recognized this position is not so good. They want to be fighting in this space. Not here. Too many walls to cross. And his buddies are not in position. It's better for them if the enemy walks into them. The enemy is short range. They're all pretty much melee champions, right? And Lucian's pretty short range too. So Damon's wanting to create a situation where the enemy goes into them. This is much better. Now they're waiting. Showmaker's card. That's the rallying call. Here Mickey gets kind of outplayed. He makes it kind of predictable, honestly. And the GP ult is monstrous. Look at that GP ult. And then the barrel as well. Because everyone's rallying behind this Mickey X engage, but they get banged in the head by a barrel, and then GP ult, Leona ult is, you know, covered by it, and it's just game over. Very game over. The chase continues. Very nice how Canyon had the patience there to back off, reposition, take it easy, finish the crab. Gold card, bait the engage. Beautiful GP ultimate. Damon is just playing as if they are a fucking fist. Some moments, sure, you can make arguments that they could squeeze a little bit more, but doesn't matter if they're winning. It's kind of like, the best analogy for Damon is like if they are ahead, let's say they have one pawn ahead, they're going to grind out with that one pawn advantage, going to make simple moves all the way until that one pawn advantage is all it takes for them to win that game. And if you look at Suning, you look at G2, and you look at Top Esports, very high variance. They are taking risks in a lot of cases that are not necessary. And Damon have found a very good balance. Because looking at this, what real opportunities did G2 have to come back when they were behind? And it's such a good read on G2, I feel, when it comes to Damon, because, you know, looking at game 3, for example, Ash didn't farm anything at all. We're going to review that game, of course, on this channel, but for the time being, we're only going to do game 1. Wiley Andres versus Squishes, someone in the chat. I think the efficiency doesn't change that much even you're playing against Squishes. There are already some HP stackers on red. It's just a good item across the board. Like Silas has some slows in his kit, and of course it is what it is. I think already in group stage, I think Suning showed that they are better than G2 in 3 games. I think it's kind of weird how, like, even in a world where Damon is going to win the finals, I don't really think the conversation should be that G2 is the second best team. That's kind of weird to me. I'm noticing that's what the chatter is about. Soul. Look how calm and collected Damon are, man. So nice. Smack. Lovely. I think it's a mix of both. I think I really just feel like Damon have really agreed on how they want to approach the game. They all seem to have the same mind when it comes to it, and it's clear that everyone just wants to win. I think people shouldn't take anything away from Suning, and I think it's very rude to have the conversation that like if Damwon wins the final, like Suning played against G2, and Suning, I think, even though the scoreline was 2-1 in my eyes, they won 3 games. Okay, that's it for this one. We're going to do it one by one per day. The next one will follow. Anyone who has a problem with Showmaker BMing is honestly just a snowflake. Like really, really snowflake. Like it's sad to see so many bitter people. Like, why are people overreacting for other people? Like G2 have nothing against it. G2 laughed it off. After in the press conference, Damon had nothing but respect for them. Pre-game, in the middle of the game, you know, it is what it is. It's entertainment. It's like there's so many people that get so upset. I don't know if it's amplified due to COVID. Everyone's sitting at home and they're bored and they're getting angsty. But G2 took it on the chin, and it is what it is. Damon played the game that G2 love to play. Thank you, Sim Shady. Like, people gotta stop being offended for other people. That's something that I see so often. And the same thing saying that G2 is the second best team. Like, we'll see how the final goes, but Suning had their number too the last time they faced off each other. Anyhow, that's it for today's review. We'll continue tomorrow. We have a lot of days. So we need to have a third best of 5 with G2 versus Damon. Right now is 1-1. It doesn't matter, man. It's all about now. Damon is better now, and it is what it is. Like Suning beat out 2 tournament favorites with ease. With like really, really easily. Those 2 best of 5s they played was honestly, it was so one-sided for Suning. G2 is the best team, just choked hard. Yeah, I guess it makes sense that I have a lot of G2 fans in the chat, but it is what it is, guys. So some facts hurt, and this is not a channel where I'm going to coddle you and tell you that G2, you know, were better, because they weren't. In any shape or form, they were not better. They played worse than usual, for sure. Like Mickey, even in this game, like he played pretty bad. But even on the best day, I think G2 would have an uphill battle against Damwon. Like Damwon is just a great team. There's no shame in that. Damwon is a great team. Things aligned better for them coming into this. Anyhow, were you worried of the quality of the finals? Keep in mind, I tweeted this after game 2. I think people got so upset, but I tweeted this after game 2. Game 1 and game 2 of Suning Top Esports was not good. And I was worried about the quality because it just... Watching game 1 and 2, it just looks like Damwon is going to 3-0 both of these teams. Anyhow, that's it.